Unfortunately, new laws were created called racially restricted covenants. Racially restricted covenants are agreements between property owners which allows the grouping of minorities in neighborhoods. Redlining was first introduced in 1934 to over 200 American cities and is still present today. Redlining classifications have 4 levels, beginning with green, known as the best, blue, still desirable, yellow, definitely declining, and red, which is completely hazardous. In the United States as a whole, 74% of neighborhoods are considered to be in the red zone and have studied to be hazardous. Redlining not only makes it difficult for minorities to become homeowners, but also basically alters the demographic makeup of the city it affects. Although several cultural communities have been unfairly targeted, causing them to move out of the community due to gentrification, the urban development has attracted a new crowd of diverse Americans to the city of Atlanta.
Atlanta is a great city. It's in what's called the Sun Belt, the southern part of the United States.
The Sun Belt is a large region of the southern United States where humid or desert-like climates can be found. The Sun Belt is made up of the southern parts of Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, South Carolina, and California. A recent study has now shown that much of the population has shifted from areas in the Northeast to the Sun Belt, particularly to the newly gentrified suburbs. As of this year, roughly 600,000 new residents have been added to Atlanta's population, and these numbers continue to grow.
And people want to move here, so they're moving down to Atlanta from cities like Detroit or Chicago or parts of the Northeast where the weather isn't as nice, where it's also very expensive, so they move downtown. They move into Atlanta and they want to be more in Midtown. They want to be in an area that seems urban. You get people coming in from all other cities, and that's where they want to be because it feels very familiar.
The urban feel of the city attracts people from various places. The fast-paced lifestyle, filled with opportunities around every corner, brings in people from several different cultures and communities.
You see sometimes more diversification, but less of the group that was there before.
People come flocking to Atlanta due to the desirable close job proximity in metro areas. Jobs are abundant, and the quick urbanization of the city ensures stable jobs and businesses.
Atlanta is quickly becoming a top contender for tech jobs. It's now the nation's 4th fastest growing market, with almost 32,000 tech jobs added in the past 5 years, according to a new report. Only San Francisco, New York, and Toronto saw greater increases over that period, based on research by the commercial real estate services company CBRE. Atlanta has added 3,500 more jobs than college degrees issued. That makes this a brain gain market. Experts say the region's success comes from its ability to grow, attract, and retain workers, not just in the short term, but for decades.
The job market in Atlanta is only becoming stronger. Major businesses including Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, and Mercedes-Benz have headquarters located in Atlanta. And on top of growing job opportunities, new attractions replacing old and run-down infrastructure, including Ponce City Market and the Beltline, add to the appeal of the city with leisure and entertainment.
The Atlanta Beltline is a $2.8 billion redevelopment project that will shape the way Atlanta grows over the next 25 years and beyond. With new trails and parks popping up, it's already becoming a reality in many parts of the city, like the historic West End.
Although gentrification can symbolize negative consequences for poor neighborhoods, in several cases, gentrification and urbanization actually lead to benefits and improvements for the local communities.
One, it helps redo neighborhoods. It helps restore and reestablish certain neighborhoods, clean up neighborhoods that might need it. The other thing I just mentioned is increase the tax base. Also, when developers come in and build, and we want to, whether it's build an office building or a condominium or single family homes or new retail, we have to make certain improvements to the streets, the sidewalks, the infrastructure. The government will often force them to do that as part of the permit to build. So it's not just that developer or real estate person fixes up this piece of property, they're also doing things that benefit the community. They're also fixing the sidewalks, adding traffic lights, repaving, adding turn lanes, doing a whole lot of things at their private dollar that benefit the city.
If handled correctly, gentrification can bring more positive outcomes to the table than negative, but the public struggles to find an effective, lasting solution.
I think that the system we live in, it certainly makes that justification. Capitalism in general and free markets would say that those are inevitable outcomes if there is, the funds and markets there to change it. But to give an answer towards its morality, I don't know. I think it's probably towards the side of immoral, but unfortunately the way it is.
We have a free market and we have natural market forces, and so the government's often conflicted. If you help people stay in their neighborhood, which is a good thing, it doesn't help increase the tax base, which is something the government's always looking for. So when there's a house that's worth $200,000 sitting on a lot, the government gets X in taxes every year. When someone buys that house, tears it down, and builds an $800,000 house, the city or the county gets 4 times the taxes on that house, and that also incentivizes them. So on one hand, the government wants to do what's right for the people, help those of less substantial means and help them stay in their neighborhood so they don't get displaced. On the other side, the government always needs money, so they're looking for ways to increase the tax base, and that's a natural way to do it.
In addition to requiring realtors to improve the amenities of the area they are gentrifying, the government could provide affordable housing options and solutions.
In general, I think there needs to be more affordable housing in different parts of the city, especially in neighborhoods like the Old Fourth Ward and surrounding neighborhoods where it's gentrifying heavily. And it's the case that even if a family holds onto a home, the next generation can't necessarily afford to live there. And so I think one of the easiest things to do would be to enforce laws that make sure that there are affordable housing options in neighborhoods.
But that is to make sure that we are intentionally planning on behalf of all segments of the population. I mean, because when Atlanta was founded, when any city is founded, they don't say, hey, you know what, we're going to have a rich part of town, we're going to have a poor side of town. We're going to have an affordable side of town, we're going to have an out of reach part of town. But we have the ability to do that now because we have enough history with our cities to see and say how things should be. And so if we want a city where teachers, firemen, police officers, regular workers can afford to live in it, we have to make sure that we're planning intentionally to provide housing, schools, and amenities for that segment of the population.
Even with the displaced people leaving Atlanta due to gentrification, the culture continues to develop and thrive. New diverse crowds move into the city, contribute to the large urban population.
It was also a great experience. I mean, in being in that vibrant area, despite all the negatives of gentrification, it was very vibrant culturally. And so, as a young professional in my early 30s, it was, very enriching to my life, I guess, to be able to live in a place where there was so much happening.
The city of Atlanta, just like the United States, is home to a variety of different cultures, races, and backgrounds. The city's diversity continues to fluctuate as residents are forced out and new ones arrive. The gentrification process has influenced change culturally as well as economically. Continuous development has allowed the downtown area to remain relevant to Atlanta's rapidly increasing population. However, the creation of popular attractions and modern infrastructure has been met with unfortunate consequences. The displacement of people in lower income areas has made it difficult to celebrate the city's booming economy. Families that have been forced to leave their homes may challenge the idea of gentrification's necessity, but the positive impact gentrification plays in the success of the city is not one to be overlooked. The problem lies not in the nature of gentrification, but the way it's executed. The city has come a long way since restricted zone and segregation, but we must do more. We must improve the way in which we begin the gentrification process. By making all those involved, regardless of stature, part of the conversation, we can change the manner in which people view gentrification. Providing adequate subsidies and affordable housing options may provide the security needed for those displaced. The people coming to the city contribute a diverse influence on our culture, which can be constructive in reaching middle ground between minorities and the government. The incoming diversity helps create connections with people in society and throughout Atlanta as a whole.
We want the city to be more diverse, to reflect more culture, because that fuels several things. One, that helps us attract more businesses to Atlanta. That also helps us to attract more investment in companies that want to move here, that people want to provide, if they're looking for a diverse workforce for their companies, or if they're trying to attract more students to their colleges and universities. All of that plays out well. So you want more diversity. My perspective is that America and Atlanta is really more like gumbo. You know, you have a roux, that's your base, right? But you got all these other distinct flavors. You got andouille sausage, you got shrimp, you got scallops, you know, green onions, all the different things, the rice that makes it good. And so you want to make sure that you're cooking a good pot. So you want to have as many good and pungent taste, strong, tasteful ingredients so you can enjoy the overall flavor of it. And that's what we need to seek to do. It's not fear gentrification necessarily, but just increase our planning so that we make sure that we've got a place for everybody at the table.